Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening to me today. My name is Reggie Lucene, and what is it that I do? I'm a Class 1 building and inspection consultant for the state of California. My job is to protect the lives of many women, men, and children, long after I'm gone, who use these buildings that we go into every day, most and predominantly public structures. In every industry, people cut corners to survive, and in the end, nobody wins. And what it is that I teach is how to not cut corners and not try to use lower quality standards to get you to the end. I teach you builders, contractors, developers, anybody to do with the industry, and other industries as well, to create breakthroughs and complete projects on time, making more money, and avoiding lawsuits, and extending the life of your industry and your business. The number one problem in the construction industry is everyone is competing for the lower spot on the ladder, so to speak. We're all competing for the lowest bid, and that's a mindset, and that's part of the issues we have out there, is because the way we're approaching it is by looking to cut corners and do it cheaper any way we can, and that's the way we believe that's the way to our successes, and that's not true. I worked with companies and change them to look at how to be doing the best they can with what they've got to work with and still delivering the quality. It's a mind shift change, and to create a world-class business to thrive versus just to survive, like robbing Peter to pay Paul to get this job finished and start this job. We don't need to do that. It's not necessary. The industry problems, they start at the top. There are management cuts and limits its resources to the people that they give the project to run and develop and create and build. Doesn't matter what we're doing, but this is widespread across this planet. It's promulgating behaviors of, we'll just say, pain and suffering, because we're in pain and suffering because we're trying to do everything cheap, and that's not the skill set that you need to be successful. And in the Beat the Building Inspector training program, that's what we teach you to overcome success. And success starts by limiting these behaviors, so to speak. Anyway, I want to use the Oroville Dam project, which is a recent event in Northern California. It's one of the state's largest water reservoirs, and it's getting ready to break, basically, and it's threatening the lives of many thousands and thousands of people right now. The investigations that were discovered that the project was built with insufficient materials, no inspection and oversight, and project was built with insufficient materials, insufficient labor, insufficient inspection oversight, and now the taxpayers are going to have to pay almost $300 million to fix this repair, which should have never had to happen. I call this the low bidder nightmare, where we're just looking to do everything cheaper, using cheaper unskilled labor, cheaper materials, unsafe building methods and practices that all cut corners and all deliver a substandard quality project. It's a fixed mindset, and we've got to get out of that, or it's going to keep repeating itself over and over, just showing up in a different place all the time. It starts at the top down. The managers are the owners are teaching it to their managers that are teaching it to their lower people, and it just keeps going on and going on. And this is what we're trying to do, is break through that mindset and give you deliverance to having more time, more freedom, more money, and more success. Because that's what it is. We want success. The solution, striving for a world-class business. Instead of focusing on surviving, which is the fixed mindset of the low bidder, we're just bidding to survive. We're going to learn to, or you're going to learn to thrive in that same environment and come out on top making more money. My goal here, even with what I'm teaching, is to teach you to have the best, to strive to do the best with what we've got to work with. So we take all your parts, what's going on, and we remalinate them in order to create a thriving environment up here, and you'll feel it here and in your whole environment, your whole team, your work, your structure, delivering you from the fixed mindset that you have to compete against someone for a lower price. It just doesn't have to be that way. World-class companies, when they're in this mindset, for some reason it just draws to them better paying jobs, better paying projects, better people, better better workers and stuff that all end up making everything better. It reduces the stress, it reduces the pains and the illnesses that everybody experiences. You're just getting rid of all of this stuff, and that's why I created this program. Or you can still stay in that fixed mindset and just take what you can get, which is what a lot of people do. Is I'm just taking what I can get, and that's what holds them back. That's what suppresses them down, and not being able to achieve the goals. In the Beat the Building Inspector Success Training Program, I like to use the airplane analogy. And what does that mean? We don't have planes falling out of the sky, and there's a perfect reason for that. Because by design, not by default, every nut, screw, bolt, and rivet, sheets of metal gets inspected. Everything 100% gets a full, complete inspection by very strict standards. And because of this and this alone, that's why we don't have planes falling out of the sky. And airplane travel, aviation travel, is the most safest travel for mankind on this planet right now. And that's why I like to use that, because in the inspection process, even in buildings, I mean, your safety depends on somebody else's a decision, and we don't have a regulated industry like we do. The private sector is unregulated. We have no idea what goes on in these buildings because everybody's trusted to do whatever they want to do, and that's about the limitation of it. I can go into more of that. We all know that you wouldn't build an airplane wings with aluminum foil. You would not use aluminum foil as a substitution for aircraft aluminum on the wings and in the body. I mean, and that's what goes on in all the other industries because they're unregulated. So they're constantly substituting, looking for something cheaper. Do you want your kids to be flying in an airplane that has aluminum foil for wings? I mean, do we want to live in homes that use balsa wood for the framing? It's the same thing, and I've watched companies go bankrupt left and right from stuff like that. I'm considered the worst enemy because I'm one of these real serious building inspectors and consultants. I have to make companies redo their work continuously because they want to think that they're doing it better by a different standard. And the thing is their standards aren't as high. In my division of the industry, everybody can make a fair profit without substituting materials and substituting the quality of the workforce. And everybody can, again, there's plenty of room for growth and fair profit. Easy. It just changed the way you get out of this fixed mindset of having to do it cheaper. It just doesn't work. We can look at other countries around the world. Perfect example. There's cities falling down everywhere because of the poor substandard of construction, period. For another example, I just got back from a trip from Panama. I was there for a couple weeks, and I went out and looked around at the construction means and methodologies and stuff. And you got buildings down there that are falling apart because there's absolutely zero oversight, and they're one of the countries that, I want to say this correctly, but I want to call it looting. The industry is real easy for everybody to, I'm just say, be bought off. I was staying in a 5-star hotel resort, and things are falling apart everywhere, and it's only like 10 years old, and you can see it there, especially the welds. They left no one expected the welds, and they're all defective. I can see them from the ground, and it's not hard to tell when a weld is defective. What does that mean? It's an unsafe building for all the guests to be staying in when the disaster hits, when they get an earthquake down there. And that country's known to have an 8.1 earthquakes, and meaning they can go higher. So my opinion is I don't want to be in one of the buildings down there when an earthquake hits. And they're also considered to be, I think it was among the top 10 cities on the world with the more skyscrapers per square mile. And I was looking at these skyscrapers driving through on a private tour downtown, and oh my God, the reinforcing, they do put reinforcing in their buildings in the concrete, but compared to our standards here in America and what I'm doing with the state architect, they're using substandard materials. Their stuff's all rusted. They pour the concrete around it, and the concrete doesn't bond to the rusted steel. In fact, the rusted steel will cause debonding from the concrete, and therefore you don't have your integrity there. So I wouldn't want to be in one of their high rises during an 8-point earthquake. Anyway, when companies work together with the building inspector or the building consultant who's appointed, and just listen to what he has to say, allow him to be your guide, your GPS system, and raise the standards and the quality of everybody's life is the goal. And it's part of overcoming the problem, and part of what I teach in this program is also how to raise your own standards, raise your own values, and raise your goals to achieve what it is you really want to have in life. And this is at an individual level, or it's at a corporate business level. It's the same thing. It's the same process. It's the same philosophy. It's the same results, the same rewards. The more you put into it, the better off you're going to get. The less work you do, the less you're going to receive. It doesn't work anyway. That's by design. That's universal law. That's not me making this stuff up. It's just me pointing out what I've seen over 30 years in an industry that's basically tanked in behaviors. It's tanked in goals and values, and everything gets covered up and layered on stuff, and no one's winning. And in fact, I'm part of the reason I created this course, because I'm tired of watching millions and millions and millions of dollars go in the trash because nobody's watching. Nobody wants to do anything about it, and that's why I'm here. Anyway, you can't overcome these problems without change, and you can't have change if you don't have a breakthrough method of breaking through these old habits. So when you hear these warning signs that are going off, that are trying to guide you, take advantage of them. Look at both sides of them, the positive and the negative, and then look at the both sides of each positive and each negative, and use your inspector. He or she is your biggest wealth of knowledge. They're there to help you. They're there to help you transform the outcome and just have a more fulfilled business with less stress and less chaos and less disorder. After all, that's what we're all looking for. A little bit about my own background again. Again, I have 35 years in this industry. I started as a broom sweeping laborer and worked through all the different levels of trades and management levels, and owning a company myself, having 80 employees at one time, which was a nightmare. And now being one of 800 to ever pass the exam for the DSA Class 1 in a 20-year period. But unfortunately, during this past recession, we had a major drawback of qualified inspectors because a lot of them, the attrition rate just collapsed. We had about a 60% fall. Now there's only about 300 of us left. And that just makes more work for us to do. So that's why, another reason why I created this program was to teach people one-on-one and one-on-many, or groups and corporations, to how to get change and get more quality, more cooperation, get more efficient and more effective, and deliver a better outcome so everybody wins. The low bidder nightmare is in real life as well. I've been sharing little tips about this all through this session here. That it rolls over and spills into your individual and your personal and your family life as well. And this is where it starts to affect the quality of our life all around. And again, this program will also address that if you choose to allow it as a tool to help your home life become more efficient and effective. So the low bidder nightmare in real life, what it does is it rubs off in your own personal life or individual life, your family's life, and it gets kind of in a repetition of frequency, pattern, and behavior of how we think. And we don't even realize that this is now on autopilot in our own actions and inactions of what we do and how we think every day. We don't realize it's taken us over. And that's what holds us back from being more fulfilled and having more time and more money and more freedom. And it consumes you. And I teach to break through stuff like that as well in my success training program with Beat the Building Inspector. I didn't have a choice growing up. I had no safety net. My safety nets were taken away from me at the age of 5, and by the age of 13 I was on my own. I've faced and been through multiple divorces, economic recessions, and bankruptcies, followed with foreclosures of losing everything. And this last time, I lost well over $1 million worth of assets, consumer assets, which really got in my way. It was holding me back. And now I'm very successful because of these things that I dealt with. And as the result, I've raised my lifestyle, I've raised my standards, I've created a breakthrough lifestyle. I'm healthier, I'm happier, I'm debt-free, and I've been released from the ancestral karmic past that I received coming into this world, and it's applicable to my program to become successful in any area. So the 3 basic steps that I teach is I teach you to develop a world-class mindset. That's the first thing. That's the most important thing, is to change and break through and remolinate the way we think so we can get a different result. That's the number 1. And it teaches you to thrive versus survive. It's owning the process. Then we design the environment that you want to be in and what you're striving for in order to have growth and break through the limitations that you're struggling and dealing with. And that's the one thing that I see all these companies, I think they deal and challenge with that one the most. the idea of the development of a new way of thinking is great, but they just struggle in that spot. And the results come from the deliverance of learning to be more efficient and more effective with these breakthroughs, changing the way we think, and delivering everything on time with less lawsuits and more profit. And more profit is, you can do this without cutting corners and hiring unskilled labor. What can you expect from the program after you complete it? When you follow the process and beating the building inspector, battling, you raise your standards. You live a higher quality of life. You have more time and more money and more freedom. And time is the one asset that everyone shares equally. And my time is very valuable, and I choose it to spend teaching people how to master their own timeline in life and getting the most quality that they can, because after all, that's what we're all here for. We want the best, but we've got to be willing to work for it. And every time you get knocked down, you need just to learn to get back up, and that's what I've had to do without a safety net. Okay, so here in closing, I want to ask you to make contact with me, and we'll schedule a free consultation for your business or each separate individuals that you want to have work with me in your business. That's an option. Or you can invite me to come back and speak and train at your own events to your audiences, which I would love to do. And finally, or we can do it individually, one-on-one, and create specific breakthroughs in your life and your business that you're seeking to attain. Thank you for listening. I appreciate your audience and your time. You can reach me at www.beatthebuildinginspector.com. That's one word. And I have multiple website portals that you can get a hold of me and ask your questions and make your reservations through any of them. Thank you.